200,000 subscribers. That was my goal to hit before the end of the year. 4/5 towards the So Guys We Did It, and we did it, boys. So from the bottom of my heart, I genuinely want to say thank you so much to everyone that has ever subscribed and all the people that have subscribed recently. Not to mention, we just hit 10k on Instagram a couple days ago as well, and now I just have one goal left to hit before the year ends. 10k on Twitter at CDTV Productions. 2007 squad, let's band together and let's make this goal a reality. I mean, at the end of the day, Big Soulja himself follows me on Twitter, so if you're not following me there, what are you doing with your life? It's an ambitious goal, but I think we can achieve it. With that being said, I just wanted to thank you guys for everything at the start of this video. Today, we are going to be looking at 10 rap songs that were saved by the feature as a follow-up to my recent video on 10 rap songs that were ruined by the feature. Something to keep in mind is that some of these songs I really dislike, minus the guest artist, but also some of them aren't necessarily bad until the feature comes in. It's just that the feature significantly enhances the song. So with that being said, this is CDTV. Thank you so much once again for helping me reach 200,000 subscribers. And let's jump right into this one.
Nice and easy as hair, but I'm bleaching it blonde, so we got that lightning in a bottle. She's tipsy, I'm sober, so she gets a chip on her shoulder.
The lower on the list these songs are, the less I think the featured artist needed to save the track, so I don't necessarily think Nicki Minaj was terrible on here, but Eminem's verse just goes through so many different phases throughout its 2-minute runtime, and it stays compelling the whole way through. From his harmonizing with the beat at the start to one of his fastest verses ever, it's just a very strong verse as a whole, and he definitely didn't even consider giving an average guest verse for this one. Also, I think part of the reason that I don't like Nicki's parts that much is because of how abrupt and kind of jarring the beat switches are going into her verses. I just don't think that they work that well. Oh, and these lyrics too. These lyrics gave me an aneurysm. Eminem is the main reason I listened to this song, but taken as a whole, Nicki's parts could be worse.
I hit the stage and it show tits. I'm in the game, I can't forfeit. Honestly, I'ma make more hits. Hop in the coupe and I swerve in the latest. She gave me top because I am the greatest. I stayed the same and then came out of changes.
I've said it in one of my most recent videos and I'll say it again. Auto-tuned Wiz Khalifa is the worst Wiz Khalifa. This isn't as bad as We Dem Boys or Letterman, but I'll take chill stoner Wiz over trap banger Wiz any day. This song does have a more relaxed, hazy instrumental, but Wiz employs more of his trap style on here, so naturally, I don't really like it. On the flip side, I think Lil Skies comes through with one of his most entertaining verses in a while, with a couple really nice flow switches and some great harmonizing throughout his verse. If I'm being honest, most of the time when I listen to this track, I just skip forward to the Skies verse and then skip the track once it's finished. Now, I honestly don't hate Wiz Khalifa. I actually think he's overhated by quite a lot of people, but this song definitely isn't one of his strongest performances. You probably all saw this one coming, and I mean, yeah, Swae Lee undeniably provides the catchiest parts of this track. Now, for what it's worth, this is nowhere near the worst French Montana performance. It's quite the opposite. This is on the upper end of the output I've heard from him, but French's upper end, it doesn't necessarily have a very high bar. However, saying that, that is why it's lower on this list. French Montana isn't completely horrendous here, so Swae Lee doesn't have to absolutely carry him. With Swae's parts, he does add a lot of charisma to the track, the main trait that I always say Montana lacks, and as someone who has a soft spot for Swae's vocals, it was impossible to not fall in love with that hook. He definitely boosted this track onto becoming the huge club banger that it is today.
901 Shelby Drive, look alive, niggas came up on this side, now they on the other side, oh well.
This song was a huge hit, and it elevated Block Boy into hip-hop mainstream for sure, but most people don't even recognize the track as his. Numerous times I've heard people call this Look Alive by Drake, and that's probably because he fills up the majority of this track's length. Something you probably don't want to let him do if you want to be the person that stands out on your own track. Block Boy's verse has a lot of energy to it, and it starts off strong, but I personally hate when he chops up his vocals just to make his flow sound more consistent than it actually is, and he uses that effect a fair amount on this. Well, more than a fair amount.
We at the door. That nigga burn.
It just gets a little annoying after a while. Sure, Drake is monotone for the whole track, but I actually think it kind of works given how kind of fast-paced and up-tempo the Tay Keith produced instrumental is. Those rapid hi-hats kind of give Drake more leeway to employ a casual style, and that's why it works on here.
I take a jet when I'm overseas. None of my girls gon' get over me. Shout out to Hog, shout out Dooley, shout out Hennessy.
Here the Star Boy and the greatest brown boy in the rap game teamed up together, and one definitely stood out more than the other. This is essentially the same situation as Look Alive, where most people consider this to be The Weeknd's track, even though he is labelled as the feature on it, because he is the feature. The Weeknd is on this track for double the time that Nav is, and whilst Nav tries his hardest to salvage his verse with introspective lyrics like "I think my nuts look better on her face," read the Genius annotation for that line if you really want to understand its depth. Despite that, he just doesn't quite compare to The Weeknd's velvety voice that would make any man fail No Nut November.
In Versace said I'm pretty like Tanashi. Put it all up in his face. Did I catch a case? Pussy gang just caught a body, but I never leave a trace.
Interestingly, back when I released my video on 10 rap songs ruined by the features, I got a fair few comments asking where this song was. I hadn't actually heard it at that point, so the comments made me decide to go and listen to the song, and I was surprised to find that Nicki didn't ruin the song at all. She actually provided the best parts of it. 6ix9ine himself has said that he wasn't even trying with this song, and it's not hard to tell with how basic and kinda lazy the rhyme scheme and flow is on here. Like, I don't even know why I did that. I don't even know why I hit that. All I know is that I just can't wife that. That was clearly written in 30 seconds. Not to say his part is unlistenable, because it's alright, but it looks like Nicki actually tried on her part, which is more than I can say for the Latin Rainbow. Her rhymes are pretty nice at parts, she switches her delivery a couple times, and she sounds a million times more enthusiastic singing the chorus than 6ix9ine does. She adds a little bit of vibrance and a spark to the song that would be entirely missing without her featured verse.
So much green on my street like it's grove. Made a lot of money on the road. Now they put me ticket for a show.
Now you guys may or may not know that I am not the biggest Trippie fan at all, but god damn, he came through and made this song 10 times more engaging. This for me is a good mix between Trippie's unique but annoying scratchy vocals and a more regular but bold style of singing, and I think it's actually a kinda good combination. It's still unique, but it's not something that irritates me like a lot of his singing usually does. Basically, this is Trippie Redd without much of the annoying aspects of his voice, and I can appreciate that. Just imagine for a second if this song was just Rich the Kid segments. What would really differentiate this track from songs like Lost It? His flow isn't that different from that track, and of course, his delivery is pretty much always the same, so he mostly relies on features to make his tracks sound different. That's what Trippie does for him here.
Yeah, I walked in and I'm dripping this Fiji. Too much ice on me, the doctor come see me. Niggas hate on me, they wish they could beat me. All my car foreign, it ain't got no ceiling. Blow 200 bands in a night.
I'm sure not a lot of people expected it to be Lil Pump that would save a song from being terrible. Now Pump isn't even that bad to be honest, but he doesn't exactly have a reputation as the guy that saves rap songs. Despite that, he's the highlight of this. Now Offset is also featured on here, and I'm not saying that his verse is bad or anything, I just don't think it's special enough to really enhance the track, something which I feel like Pump does do. The main reason I don't like most of this track is Yachty. I really dislike Yachty's performance on this song as he tries to sound intimidating in this nonchalant way, and it just feels so inauthentic. That's one of my main problems with Yachty's recent rapping tracks. However, Pump is definitely himself here, dropping in with one of his more bold performances, and at the time it dropped, it was surprising to hear him rap with a decent amount of energy like this. Lillian Pumpernickel shone through on this one, man.
On the ideas, healthy as fast as my Adidas. She say I'm special, that's obvious. Rich cause my ideas. Run up the racks for the most part. I rap when they ask what my hobby is. Run it up, not one of them.
As someone who's not really the biggest fan of Playboi Carti at all, there are so many different tracks that I could have chose from him for this list. Features are blessings on Playboi Carti albums to me, and I chose this specific one because Rocky outperforms him by such a huge margin, and it's not even close. With Carti's disjointed flowing style, it honestly doesn't even feel like the track is started until Rocky appears, and Rocky's flow is anything but disjointed. He He easily breezes over the beat, making Carti's verse seem really unimpressive in comparison. And some people hate when rappers twist words to make them rhyme, but in my opinion it's pretty impressive how Rocky managed to rhyme ideas with Adidas, with obvious, with ideas, with my hobby is. This track is something I wouldn't have even given a second listen if it wasn't for ASAP Rocky saving it. He genuinely did a lot of heavy lifting on this one.
Mean muggin' got me clutch, yeah, and the stick right out of Russia. Ice water turn Atlantic, night calling in a phantom.
I mean, the real savior of this song was the iconic steel drum-based beat. Can we get a Kodak dance, please? But Offset and Travis also did their part at taking this track up to the next level. I've never really liked Kodak Black or his very slurred style of rapping, so he usually has to pull out something incredibly special for me to enjoy a verse from him, and this one just isn't that. His hook sounds okay, and it is catchy, but the verse almost sounds very slightly offbeat when compared to the slickness of Travis and Offset. Offset very rarely delivers a disappointing guest verse, and here he rides the beat pretty smoothly as if it's nothing. And while Travis doesn't have a verse on here, he provides a really nice bridge. I think the contrast of the bright tropical beat with his darker auto-tune delivery creates a great sound. In my opinion, they both enhance this track a lot. Now this definitely isn't Kodak's worst performance, not even close, but you can bet that I would not be revisiting this song soon if it wasn't for the guest artists. Also, this is kind of unrelated, but is it just me that from the title of this song would be really curious to see a 6ix9ine remix of it? I legitimately think his voice would work quite well with this kind of beat, but that probably is just me. I think that would sound pretty good, man. I think that would sound pretty good.
ZZ got the blicky in it, feeling really stiffy,
Well guys, that is going to be it for the video today. Thank you so much for watching, and one more time, just one more time, thank you so much for helping me reach 200,000 subscribers. It's just really crazy to just look at my creator studio and see that number in front of everything change from a 1 to a 2. That's kind of how numbers work when they go up, but you know, it just looks really nice, man. It looks really nice. I'm glad that things are going so well for the channel recently, and it's just puts a smile on my face, so thank you so much for that. Like I said, the next goal for me, or at least before the end of this year, is 10,000 followers on Twitter and 40 million total channel views. The 40 million total channel views we're gonna get, that's not gonna be a challenge, but 10,000 Twitter followers is gonna be the tough one. So like I said, I would really appreciate you guys helping me out with that. That's at CDTV Productions. I tweet funny stuff every single day, and anyone who says I don't is a liar. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know down in the comments below if there's any kind of video suggestions you have. I got plenty of ideas, but I just want to know what you guys would be interested in seeing. And that's all I got to say for today, guys. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you all in the next one, and this is your boy CDTV Productions signing out.